So last time we left off with Canada under new management British rule, courtesy of the 7 Years' War.
Right.
And they didn't just sit around, sipping tea, right?
Not exactly.
No.
The British got busy reorganizing, creating the province of Quebec.
Okay.
But then you've got those American colonies,
Okay.
deciding to throw a revolution.
Yeah. Talk about a headache for the Brits.
Headache is an understatement.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating the ripple effect.
Right.
Loyalists, those who stuck with the crown, fled the newly born USA and flocked to Canada.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the population gets a lot more diverse,
Right.
more English-speaking.
It throws a wrench in the works.
It does.
Remember, Quebec was largely French-speaking Catholic.
Right.
Now you have this influx of English-speaking Protestants loyal to the crown, expecting British laws and systems.
So in 1791, they split Quebec into Upper and Lower Canada.
Yep.
An attempt to keep the peace, I guess.
Exactly. It's an early attempt at dealing with Canada's inherent duality.
Okay.
The French and English, different cultures, legal traditions, loyalties.
Yeah.
It's a theme that keeps popping up throughout Canadian history.
And less than 25 years later, bam, War of 1812.
Oh, boy.
This time, it's the Americans coming knocking, right?
Yep. And what's interesting here is that Canadians, both English and French, fought together to repel the invasion.
Okay.
It's a shared experience that contributes to this growing sense of a distinct Canadian identity.
Separate from both.
Separate from both Britain and the U.S.
Talk about forging a nation in the heat of battle.
Right.
But even after fending off the Americans, Canadians still wanted more say in their own affairs. This whole idea of responsible government starts gaining traction, right?
It's this key concept.
Yeah.
Canadians wanted elected leaders who are accountable to them, not just to the British Crown.
Okay.
And it leads to rebellions in both Upper and Lower Canada in 1837 and 38.
Okay, so rebellion's not exactly a peaceful transition of power.
No, they were short-lived and ultimately put down.
Right.
But they send a clear message.
What's that?
That the status quo wasn't working.
Yeah.
The desire for more democratic control was growing.
So how does Britain react? Do they give Canadians what they want?
Partially. When in 1840 they passed the Act of Union, merging Upper and Lower Canada back into a single province of Canada. It's a step towards more self-governance, but not full-blown democracy just yet.
So the story of Canada is all about this push and pull, this gradual evolution towards independence.
Exactly. And over the next few decades, a bolder idea starts gaining steam.
What's that?
Confederation.
Okay.
The idea of uniting all the British North American colonies into a single self-governing nation within the British Empire.
Oh, so this isn't about breaking away from Britain completely, but more like leveling up within the empire.
Exactly. It's driven by a mix of things.
Okay.
Economic challenges, political deadlock in the province of Canada, and a growing fear of American expansionism.
Yeah.
A united Canada would be stronger, more able to chart its own course.
So how do they make this confederation thing happen? Well, town hall meetings, a nationwide vote.
More like high-level talks. Delegates from the colonies meet in Charlottetown and Quebec City in 1864.
Yeah.
Think of it like a constitutional convention.
I see.
Hammering out the details of this new union.
And on July 1st, 1867, bam.
There it is.
The British North America Act gets royal assent.
Happy birthday, Canada.
Uniting the province of Canada, Nova Scotia and New Brunswick into the Dominion of Canada.
A momentous occasion.
Yeah.
But remember, this Dominion is still part of the British Empire.
Right.
Full independence is still a few chapters away in this story.
And the Dominion doesn't waste any time growing.
It doesn't.
Manitoba joins in 1870 British Columbia, in 71 Prince Edward Island in 73.
Yeah.
It's like a welcome to Canada party, one province at a time.
The appeal of Confederation was strong.
It was.
The promise of economic growth, political stability, and greater influence within the empire.
Right.
But let's not forget, this expansion came at a cost for Indigenous peoples, whose land rights were often ignored or violated.
Speaking of connecting the country, we can't forget about the Canadian Pacific Railway.
Right.
Completed in 1885.
Big project.
This massive project linked east to west by rail. Talk about an epic engineering feat.
The CPR is more than just a railway.
Yeah.
It becomes a symbol of national ambition and unity.
Right.
It facilitates trade settlement communication across vast distances, making Canada a true transcontinental nation.
But there's always a but, right?
There is. The railway also opens up the West to further settlement,
Right.
which often displaces indigenous peoples
Yeah.
and exacerbates existing tensions.
Gotcha.
We see this in the Red River Rebellion of 1869-70
Okay.
and the Northwest Rebellion of 1885, both led by Louis Riel.
These are complex events.
They are.
Riel's a controversial figure.
Yeah.
Considered a hero by some, a traitor by others.
Yeah.
It speaks to the messy realities of nation building.
Right.
The different perspectives on history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These rebellions highlight the ongoing struggle for indigenous rights and recognition.
It's a struggle that continues to this day.
A struggle that continues.
And then there's the Indian Act of 1876, which further marginalizes indigenous communities.
Right.
So here we have this young nation grappling with internal conflicts,
Yeah.
trying to find its footing within the British Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 20th century arrives, bringing with it, among other things, world wars.
World War?
World War I is a turning point for Canada.
It is.
It marks the country's emergence as a significant military force
Right.
on the world stage.
On the world stage?
Canadian troops fight with distinction
Yeah.
in battles like Vimy Ridge and Passchendaele, earning a reputation for bravery and tenacity.
For sure.
But those battles come at a price,
They do.
right? The losses are devastating for many Canadian families.
They are, and those losses has a profound impact on the nation's psyche,
I bet.
shaping its view of war and its role in international affairs.
Mm-hmm.
But amidst the tragedy, there's also a sense of national pride.
Right. A recognition of Canada's contributions to the Allied effort.
And back home, the war effort fuels social change,
Right.
particularly for women.
Particularly for women.
They step up to fill jobs traditionally held by men,
They did.
contributing to the war effort in countless ways.
In countless ways.
It gives a huge boost to the women's suffrage movement.
Absolutely.
And finally, in 1918, women in most of Canada win the right to vote in federal elections.
Huge victory.
A major victory, although Quebec, unfortunately,
Yeah.
doesn't grant women full voting rights until 1940.
It's true.
So Canada emerges from WWI, a changed nation, scarred, but also emboldened.
Exactly. But the post-war optimism is short-lived.
Uh-oh, what happens?
The Roaring Twenties give way to the devastating economic crash of the 1930s.
Oh, no.
The Great Depression.
The Great Depression.
Canada is hit hard with widespread unemployment and hardship.
The global crisis, right? But how does it impact Canada specifically?
It exposes the vulnerabilities of the Canadian economy, its dependence on exports, and its lack of a robust social safety net.
Yeah.
The government starts taking a more active role in providing relief and assistance,
Right.
but it's a slow and painful process.
And just as things are starting to improve,
Uh-oh.
World War II breaks out in 1939.
Here we go again.
Canada once again joins the fight.
And this time, Canada's contribution is even greater.
Okay.
The country mobilizes its industrial capacity, producing weapons, munitions, and supplies for the Allied war effort.
Wow.
Canadian troops fight in Europe from the beaches of Normandy to the liberation of the Netherlands.
The Royal Canadian Air Force plays a vital role in the Battle of the Atlantic,
Right.
helping to keep those crucial supply lines open to Britain.
It's a massive undertaking, a truly national effort,
Yeah.
and it further solidifies Canada's standing on the world stage.
I'll see.
The war strengthens ties with the U.S.,
Okay.
laying the foundation for a close partnership that will continue throughout the Cold War.
And in 1949, we get the final piece of the puzzle. Newfoundland and Labrador join Canada,
Yep.
completing the map of 10 provinces and 3 territories we know today.
It marks the end of an era in many ways.
Yeah.
The completion of Confederation, the solidifying of Canada's national borders.
Right.
But new challenges are already emerging. The Cold War social and political change,
Yeah.
and the ever-present questions of national unity and identity.
And that, my friends, is where we'll pick up next time,
Stay tuned.
as we delve into the post-war era and the complex evolution of the Canadian government in the late 20th century.
Be sure to join us as we explore how Canada navigated the Cold War,
Right.
tackled issues of social justice, and patriated its constitution.
That's coming up.
It's a fascinating chapter in the ongoing story of Canada's journey towards full independence and self-determination.
The next part will come out soon.